It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from our studios in downtown Nashville. You can read all our stories at TennesseeStar.com, TennesseeStar.com. You can reach me on X, formerly Twitter, at Michael P. Leahy in studio. The original All-Star panelist, Crom Carmichael. Good morning, Crom.
Good morning, Michael.
It's November 22nd, 2024. Where were you 61 years ago on November 22nd, 1963, when we listened to this from Walter Cronkite?
Camera, we can get a closer look at this picture.
And almost exactly 1 hour after his initial bulletin, this now famous announcement.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Where were you when you first heard that, Crom?
Well, Michael, first let me say this about the death of JFK. Actually, Walter Cronkite did our tapes on the U.S. Constitution.
He did, and did a great job.
And if you sit in the studio with him doing the narration for a long period of time, it's not very long before you begin to speak like Walter Cronkite. and I was in high school at the time. I was actually, I take that back. Yes, I was in middle school because I would have been 13 years old. Mm-hmm. And
did you go to that school in Virginia?
Well, that was not when I was 13.
Where were you?
What I'm saying is I'm trying to remember what school. I don't remember exactly what school. I would have been in South Bend, Indiana.
Got it.
In 1961.
63.
63. Oh, excuse me. Then I was, excuse me, I'm sorry. Then I was at Woodbury.
In Virginia.
In Virginia. That's where I was. And
you don't have a clear recollection of that moment, do you, though?
No, not really.
I do.
Okay. Where were you?
I was in the front row of Mrs. Levine's third grade class.
Okay.
In a tiny little wooden schoolhouse in Dannemora, New York.
Okay.
And we were working on a lesson on the Piedmont of North Carolina.
Okay.
And I thought, boy, that's pretty far south.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And this was a K-12 school of 300 kids.
Okay.
And in my third grade class, we had 12 kids.
Okay.
My dad was the principal of that little school.
Ah, okay.
And so at 1:40 p.m. Eastern Time, my dad came over the PA system.
Oh, and well, then that'd be another reason for you to have a very vivid memory.
Vivid memory.
Your dad giving the announcement.
My dad said the president has been shot. An hour later, 2:40 p.m., he said the president has died.
Okay.
And we usually let school out at 3:30, and he said, we are ending school now,
okay.
And so go home.
Okay.
And so I remember clearly he had to walk through the home, and you would have to walk through the town, maybe half a mile to my house. I remember walking across a little playground, a field that was just before my house, and talking to one of my friends and saying, what will Lyndon Johnson do now?
Okay.
It was a bad day for America. It was actually, I thought, America before the assassination of John F. Kennedy was very optimistic. It became a very dark period after that.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with whether or not Lyndon Johnson turned out to be, I think his history will show that he put in place a lot of things that have created real problems. He did, he passed the Civil Rights Act. That was a good thing.
That was the one good thing he did.
That was a good thing. But Medicare and Medicaid, the way that he passed the entitlement programs, the Great Society programs, are contributing because they're just not well run. They're terribly run, and of course you could also blame that on ensuing administrations for not reforming the things, but
making it worse.
Yeah, but here's an interesting question, Michael. If JFK were not assassinated, would he have gone down in history as a good president or not?
Adequate president.
Yeah, maybe. His foreign policy was perhaps the worst of any president in my lifetime. because if he was president for 3 years, and the first mistake that he made was he backed out of the Bay of Pigs after he agreed to support them. Khrushchev saw that and said this man is weak.
And then the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh, well, let's put all of the things in between. Then the Berlin Wall got built, and the Russian when the Soviet Union collapsed, the paper showed that Khrushchev had said, if the Americans do anything to object, we will stop building the wall. We did nothing, and so the Berlin Wall got built, and that really changed. That made the Iron Curtain more iron. Let's put it that way. And then the Vietnam War. We got involved in the Vietnam War because of JFK's involvement in the Vietnam War, and you could argue that JFK is the one that had the president of South Vietnam assassinated.
Well, let's just to step back on that a little bit.
Okay.
This has all come out, but President Diem was assassinated. And there are reports that the CIA was involved in that assassination.
Right. I'm not saying that. Yeah. I'm saying that. So the Vietnam War.
But you can't hang Vietnam on Kennedy.
No. I'm saying
you hang it on Johnson for the Gulf of Tonkin resolution.
He expanded. I'm not questioning whether or not he expanded it, but JFK is the one that got us involved in the first place. And it's kind of like if you break it, you have to fix it. And JFK started the process of breaking it. And then you had the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was which we had intelligence of what was going on there for months before JFK acted, and then when he did act, what he agreed to do secretly, which I'm not even sure he had the legal right to do, was he changed our NATO, changed the missiles that we had in Turkey. We took them out, and so you could make a very strong case that JFK was the worst president in my lifetime when it comes to foreign policy. Now, Biden is trying really hard.
I think you got to add, Biden's worse.
Okay.
Johnson was worse.
Okay. What I'm saying is that Johnson made the terrible mistake of escalating the Vietnam War,
but escalating it without trying to win it.
I'm not trying to talk about Johnson. What I'm saying is Kennedy is the one who got us involved in Vietnam with no plan. I mean, this is what happens with governments. It's a little bit reminiscent. When I say reminiscent, I don't know if even that's the right word. You have Biden who's trying desperately to figure out how to force Trump to continue to support Ukraine.
He's trying to get us into World War III as well.
Well, I don't think he's trying to get us into World War III. I think he's trying to leave Trump with a no-win situation, which I don't think he'll succeed in doing.
No, I agree with you. He's not going to succeed in that.
But because Trump is probably, of all the presidents in my lifetime, with maybe the exception of Ronald Reagan, who's very realistic when it comes to foreign policy and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And Reagan made one major mistake in his presidency, and that is trying to save Lebanon. When there was civil war going on there, and the result was we ended up with our embassy being blown up, and then we had our barracks.
That would have been 1982, I think.
82 or 83.
And I think it was 180 Marines were killed.
That was 83.
83. Yeah.
241.
241.
241.
You remember that number?
Well, I just finished reading a wonderful book on that period, and it was once again, it was where the military leaders convinced Reagan of certain things. Now, then what happened was...
We're out of time on this, but I think the bottom line is you don't give JFK high marks for foreign policy.
I do not.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Back with more after this.
folks, John Fredericks here for Freedom Alliance. Veterans are still struggling with the wounds of war. They came home with injuries that changed them forever. The flag-burning troublemakers in our streets remind me how fortunate we are to have patriots who served and fought, sacrificed, and never complained. We need to support them through organizations like the Freedom Alliance. It's Military Appreciation Month and time to support those who serve. Freedom Alliance is caring for combat veterans and military families. Combat veterans fought in the worst, most dangerous places on earth. Freedom Alliance takes them to nature's most relaxing locations so they can heal. Freedom Alliance gives injured troops mortgage-free homes, new cars, and all-terrain wheelchairs. For wounded vets, there's nothing like the stability of your own home, the reinsurance of a reliable vehicle, or the independence of a wheelchair that navigates snow, ice, beach, pasture, or most any terrain. Let's fight for those who fought for us. Go to freedomalliance.org/Godzilla and make a monthly gift that will improve the life of a military hero. That's freedomalliance.org/Godzilla. Make a contribution today.
If you're like me, most moms find it difficult to prioritize self-care. Hi, it's Colleen, Program Director at the John Fredericks Media Network. With the demands of programming 13 radio stations, it's easy to forget about the things I should do for myself daily. And that's why I started with our company's Women's Challenge with Native Path Collagen Peptides. It's affordable and convenient care in just one scoop a day. There are so many incredible health benefits like bone and joint support, metabolism booster, and hair, skin, and nail improvement. I like to take a moment each day to prioritize myself and indulge in the health-boosting benefits of Native Path Collagen Peptides. I love mixing it up with all the different smoothie recipes, too. Learn more about Native Path Collagen Peptides and read 7 important reasons why you should be taking collagen peptides at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Prioritize your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today and get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
Target.com. Target.com is an online e-commerce tire retailer. We are here to serve the American public with the best possible customer service, the best pricing, and we make it extremely easy. We have many name brands and a lot of low-cost tires. The price is right, and it's easy. You go online to Target.com, Tireget.com, Target.com. You go there, you put your zip code in, all the inventory displays right in front of you. You can call in for help if you want to. We'll help you get the tire that you need. But we will take the tires you buy and at no extra charge deliver them to the dealer right by your house where they will be installed at the market price. It's easy. The best price, the best service. Great people to deal with. Thank you for going to Target.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. In studio, the original All-Star panelist, Crom Carmichael. We are broadcasting live from our studios in downtown Nashville. We will take calls if you want to call. 615-649-8477. 615-649-8477. Now, Patrick, our producer, will take your name, and you need to tell him where you're from and what the topic is. And if you're on topic, we'll talk to you. And if you're off topic, it's got to be real interesting.
Right.
Don't you think, Crom?
I think that sounds like a good plan.
I got a topic for you.
Okay.
Now, this is not exactly spiking the football.
Okay. But
Kamala Harris lost 2 weeks and 3 days ago in, I would call it a landslide, an electoral college landslide. I think Trump's going to be up by 1 or 1.5% the popular vote. That's a pretty strong thumping.
Well,
and yet, Crom, she raised over $1 billion.
1.5.
1.5.
Yeah.
She's at least $20 million in debt.
Right.
In addition, almost all her campaign staff, they let them go with like no severance.
Now that's actually. Here's what I have heard, and
we'll
talk about this. I've heard that the DNC fired a bunch of people and gave them 1 day's notice and no severance.
Right.
Then in the same article, it said at least Kamala Harris gave her campaign 3 weeks of severance. But if they're $20 million in debt,
where's the money coming from?
I'm trying to figure out.
I'm jumping forward.
Right. I'm trying to figure out where does the money come from. You can promise somebody severance, but if you don't have the cash, you go, well, I would have liked to have done it.
If the bank account has zero in it,
how do you?
And you have $20 million in payables, how do you
give severance? It's a good question, but here's
you give them a IOU,
an IOU, and a good luck.
But here's the thing: we're living on IOUs, except when the government prints money, you can pay it.
Yeah, but here's what's interesting to me, Michael, as we see more information about the Harris campaign and frankly the Trump campaign. When I say frankly, I'm saying in comparison. The Trump campaign was run for almost 24 months. It had $10 million in what you would call, in a corporation, you'd call it corporate overhead expense. $10 million over 24 months. Kamala Harris's campaign lasted for 15 weeks.
Yeah.
Their corporate overhead was $50 million for 15 weeks. They blew through $100 million a week.
Yeah.
Trump spent less than $10 million. Less than $8 million a week. And so, but this is the way, and what I'm saying is, and then the left claimed that at least leading up to the election, right before the election, they said that Kamala Harris ran a flawless campaign. That was the term. That was the term of the day.
Right.
Flawless in terms of describing her campaign. This is the way the left thinks, and this is what is so frightening for the country. The left has no fiscal responsibility.
Zero zip nada.
At all.
They don't understand.
They will spend your money until you have none.
Right.
That's what they are willing to do. And it is frightening. And I say this because I am extremely pleased that Trump won and extremely pleased that we have the House and the Senate. Democrats have a 4-to-1 spending advantage because of government employee unions.
Mm-hmm.
Trump is a force of nature. The word unique can only be used rarely because it has a very, very specific meaning.
It means there's only one of them.
Yes.
That is unique.
Yes, and
there's only one Trump.
Trump is as close to being a unique politician as I can, as in my lifetime, and that I could even conceive of. And so, in the absence of Trump, could the Republicans have withstood a 4-to-1 financial onslaught?
No.
And the answer for me is no, they could not have.
No.
We've got midterms in 2 years. If the Trump administration does not figure out a way to put the kibosh on the government employee unions, either by eliminating them, which would be very difficult, or by corralling their spending, by having the Labor Department conduct an audit to determine how much money was spent on politics and have that money go to be contributing to the underfunded liabilities in their pension plans. Trump has got to figure out how to take away the spending advantage so that the playing field is level.
I have one word for you.
Well, Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations. And the name of that book is The Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations, an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations. He said the one fundamental principle is the marketplace must be, all the participants must have an equal opportunity. A 4-to-1 advantage paid for by taxpayers is the definition of inequality in politics. So what is your one word?
One word and two people.
Okay, what?
Doge, Vivek, and Elon.
Okay, I don't know if they can attack the unions. I think they can attack the number of people who are employed by the federal government, and it is my hope that they reduce the number from 2 million by at least 500,000
So
people.
here's the first idea that I think is quite good. Would you like to hear it?
Please.
So, and remember now, they've got an email, an X account right now, like 2 million followers, and they put out statements, information, how you can participate. If you want to participate, you just send them your resume.
Okay.
In fact, I've had several friends around the country because they know that we're tight with Vivek.
Okay.
Get a resume to them. So we're sending resumes off to Vivek on this. But here's the very simple thing that they can do. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
How many of those 2 million federal employees you're talking about?
That's only federal. You have state and local, which is a great many more.
I understand.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about the Department of Government Efficiency as it relates to dealing with the Office of Management and Budget. How many of those 2 million people show up at their office 5 days a week?
200,000.
Right.
Yeah.
How many don't?
I can do the math here, 1.8.
Very good.
Yes, thank you.
So the very simple first thing you do is you require all of them to show up 5 days a week.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Then in order to keep their pay, they show up.
So
what have you accomplished?
Some of them will stop.
Maybe, but there's an awful lot of money in being a federal employee when you count the benefits. And showing up and then playing computer games instead of doing hard work is not a solution. And my problem, Michael, goes way beyond. There are 18 million government employees in the country.
You're talking state and local.
State and local, and that's where the problems are. And so what I'm saying is that this requires a much different look at the political and economic landscape.
So hold on just a second. Just a second. Now,
right.
Hold on. You're trying to boil the ocean with the federal, state, and local governments. Mm-hmm. Right on the table right now is this, which is good news. There's a report, Crom, that Russ Vought, Vought, the former head of the OMB, the guy who runs the Center for Renewing America, the guy who knows everything about the federal budget and is a Trump loyalist. There was a report late last night that Trump is going to rename him to be the head of the OMB.
Okay.
Now, within that, the other good news is in Congress, they've got a special committee to deal with all of the recommendations that come from that come from this Doge group. Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to run that. And then we've got, obviously, the advice coming to the Office of Management and Budget from the Doge group run by Elon and Vivek. Mm-hmm. And there's one thing that has to happen. Would you like to know what that is?
What?
You know that little thing called a continuing resolution?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And versus an omnibus budget?
Right.
Right now, as you know, we've got a fiscal year that begins on October 1st and ends on September 30th. We are in the early stages of fiscal year 2025. And there's a continuing resolution that was passed to keep everything funded, and that continuing resolution extends until December 24th.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing that has to happen between now and December 24th is the Congress cannot pass an omnibus budget bill that would take us all the way to the end of fiscal 25.
I agree.
What they need to do, and I think Speaker Johnson's going to go for this, they need to say, we're going to pass a continuing resolution that will take us to like the end of February.
Okay.
And then we'll have time to get all these recommendations from the Department of Government Efficiency, and we can stop the spending. Plus, the little secret here is the president can, and they're going to argue he has the authority to impound appropriated funds and not spend them.
Okay.
Have you followed all that?
How can now Nixon tried to impound funds, and the Supreme Court said if Congress appropriates the money and it is signed into law, a president cannot impound the funds. Now, as much as I'd like for the president to be able to impound funds.
See, there's a little twist on that.
Please, thank you.
Because, yes, you are, as always...
A little chubby checkers here.
You are, as always, hitting the nail on the head.
A little twist.
The Impoundment Control Act of 1974 was signed by President Nixon on July 13th, 1974.
Okay.
He'd signed it under duress because they were trying to impeach him at the time. He thought it might help, it didn't. And it was a mistake. But it has been, in a narrow sense, there are some Supreme Court precedents that say, well, you can't do that. That's all changing.
Okay.
There are arguments to be made, and Vivek and Elon have made them.
Okay.
In a Wall Street Journal op-ed.
Yes, I've read
Challenge it.
I've read it, and it will need to be challenged, and it will need
immediately.
And then the courts will need to side with
the president.
Those who, yes.
And they will. At the Supreme Court, they will. Back after this. say a few words about our friends at the Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road. The Nashville Pizza Company in Franklin reminds us that the current economic times have been tough on many families in our area, and many are finding it hard to make ends meet. Your donations of clothing or canned goods can make a difference for a family in need. During this holiday season, give from the heart so others can have a new start. That's courtesy of our friends at Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road in Franklin. They are always working to keep our community moving in a positive direction.
My fellow Americans, my good friends, I've known them for a long time, at D.T. McCall & Sons have the deal of a lifetime for you, and nobody knows deals like I do. That much I can tell you. Nobody knows deals like I do. The lumber yards, they can hit you with hidden charges for up to $200 extra. They'll charge you for cords and hoses and haul-offs. Your money goes all over the place and out of the state, and most importantly, out of your pockets. How do they get away with that? I don't know how they do that, but on day one, if you buy from McCall's, we are going to stop the hidden charges as soon as you buy it. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. Head to one of their stores today or check them out at dtmccalls.com. You're going to love it. Believe me.
Impersonator not endorsed
this
by
summer,
Donald
never
Trump.
leave pets in vehicles while running errands. Even with windows cracked, 80 degrees can shoot up to 120 degrees, causing heat stroke, dehydration, and even death. So keep pets hydrated, shaded in cool areas, or just leave them at home. That's from Kathy, Candy, and the staff at Mutts Cuts Grooming, the people with warm hearts for those with cold noses. For your pet's grooming needs, call 931-645-9220. That's 931-645-9220 for Mutts Cuts Grooming in Clarksville, Tennessee at 1479 Tiny Town Road.
Hey there, this is Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of The Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We're having a terrific discussion in studio with the original All-Star panelist, Crum Carmichael. Crum, I keep going back to the works of George Orwell, who in 1948 wrote a book called 1984, which basically talked about how people tried to change the past and lie about it. Truth was, fiction. Yeah. Truth was lies.
Right.
War was peace.
Yeah, all that stuff.
All that kind of stuff. Yeah. We are so there right now. Yeah. And some of the champions of that in the modern era, anyone who ever worked in a Democrat administration is a champion of reinventing what didn't happen.
Yeah, it shows you, Michael, what is so important about if you ask a college student, what is your goal to become educated? And of course they'll say yes. And you say, what is being educated? And to me, if you're educated, you have a foundation so that you can consider other people's opinions. If you need to have additional facts in order to have your personal conclusion on their opinion, then you know where to go to look for the facts, and you have a general understanding of reality, of truth. And because in the society that we're in today, the left engages in misinformation and disinformation, constantly claiming it's the others who are doing that.
It's the old projection play.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And
you have an example of a former Obama administration official doing just that.
Yeah, the headline is they wouldn't know inflation if it bit them in the ballot. and this is a guy, and you and I both know
what's
who
the
he
article?
is. Wall Street Journal.
I've heard of that place.
Yeah, and but this is a guy, and you and I both know who he is, Peter Orszag.
He was the OMB director under Obama.
Yes,
wasn't
he is currently CEO of Lazard. And
that's
I think that's an investment bank.
It's a big investment bank in New York City.
Yeah, and so at any rate, he has done a study. I'm going to quote here. It says he argues based on research he conducted with economists from Lazard and the Brookings Institution that supply side problems such as supply chain disruptions accounted for 79%, not 78. Not 80, 79% of the inflation in 2021. So the question is, for an educated person, how would they evaluate that question, and what facts would they need in order to determine whether or not they think that opinion is good? So let me ask a different question. If we know that a balloon with fresh helium in it will rise, if the helium is taken away from that balloon, what happens to the balloon? It falls. Okay, we know that. Okay, now everybody who's listening would be able to say, okay, that would be true. So if the inflation under Biden was caused by supply chain issues and disruptions, once those issues and disruptions are gone, then you should have price decreases to revert back to the norm, but we did not.
Let me just ask you.
But we did not.
Hold on.
Please go.
Supply chain. All of a sudden.
Yes.
Supply chain disruptions. Now, Crom.
Supply chain disruptions did occur.
I understand.
Okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean they were inflationary. It means they were logistical problems.
Yeah. What is the obvious reason for inflation under the Biden administration?
Well, what I'm saying is I'm only right now at this point. And then we'll get to the causes of inflation.
Well, let's do that right now.
Okay. All right. To me, the causes of inflation, and I want to be very clear about this because you hear a lot of people say, and a lot of people on TV, a lot of talking heads, even economists will say that inflation is a function of deficit spending. Okay, that's what they'll claim. And that's why if Trump wants to cut taxes, they'll say, oh, that's highly inflationary because it'll increase the deficit. That's what they'll claim. Now, but my position is this. Inflation will accelerate if government spending at all levels accelerates from the norm.
So let's just be back to my basic economics course under Otto.
Go ahead.
Under Otto Eckstein at Harvard, the big economist. Basically, he says pretty simple. Inflation is too much money chasing too few goods.
And I think that is oversimplified.
That's why I said it, because our listening audience is saying, okay, so here's the thing about it. What is the source of too much money? It's all the ridiculous spending of the federal government.
Yes, but it's not deficits. What I'm trying to get at here is that a lot of people will claim that when government prints money to fund deficits, that is creating too much money. And I will not disagree with that notion. However, if they are printing the money to pay for dramatic increases in spending, government spending is inherently non-productive. Inherently. Yeah. It's not always, but it's inherently. The private sector spending is inherently productive. It is not always, but it is inherently.
Let's go back to this whole private sector, public sector.
Well, but this is the key.
I understand.
Yeah.
But let me kind of go back to that. When you say that, now, people listening to us, Crom, many of them work for larger corporations, right? And they see, well, the corporation is wasting money on this or wasting money on that. But ultimately, a private corporation, whether it be privately held or publicly traded, ultimately, over time, if they spend too much money on stupid things that don't produce positive revenue, they run out of money.
Right.
And they go out of business.
Right.
Right?
That's right. That's correct. There's a self-correction.
This Now, sometimes it takes a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it happens very quickly.
Yeah. Now, also, let me just, the caveat here is that if you have a company that is essentially protected by government, like AT&T was back before there was deregulation, or if you have airlines who are highly regulated by the government and controlled by the unions, then if the government wanted union members who worked for airlines to be able to make more money and have more employees, then they could allow the airlines to raise their prices. But all the airlines had to raise their prices together, so there was not competition. And the same thing is true with AT&T. AT&T, when it was essentially a private company that existed because of government policy. And so it could have way more employees than it needed. It could waste all kinds of money because it did not have competition. It is competition that is an essential element to forcing private sector corporations to act responsibly.
And when a large corporation has very little competition, that's when you have the problem.
That's when exactly.
And look, right where we are right now, this is relevant to what's going on currently. Take what is, in essence, pretty much a monopoly of search engines. Google, right now, they've got like 75% market share. That's one of the reasons why, and they're able to put their tentacles pretty much everywhere.
Right.
There is a proposal now to force them to divest of their browser, Google Chrome.
Yeah, and we're mixing a
Rumble,
couple.
I understand, but the point is, in terms of the movement of markets, right? And we're in a situation now where I think that's going to accelerate, and the protection of monopolies and oligopolies that is, particularly in the tech world, that has taken place under the Biden administration, about to be totally blown up.
Well, that may or may not. Google is not an inefficiently run company, and I'm really trying to stay focused on what causes inflation. And a dramatic increase in the rate of government spending at all levels is inflationary. So what this guy is claiming is the cause of inflation, supply chains. If it were if what he was saying were true,
this guy being Peter Orszag, former OMB director for Obama.
Yes, if what he is saying is true, then once supply chains are repaired, which they are and have been for over a year, then the unusual and special costs associated with the disruption would disappear and prices would fall back to the norm, which they have not done. The rate of inflation has slowed to 2 to 3%, and in some sectors 4 to 5%. And I will agree that the rate of inflation has fallen, but to claim that supply chains is the cause of the giant jumps in inflation would be false because it didn't revert.
Well, and the reason this guy, and just so you know, this is how it works. You get, one of these high-level former Obama administration officials, they get a high-level job.
Sure.
With investment banking. What they're doing is they're really running cover.
Sure, of course.
They're running cover for the bad economic policies of all Democrats, including Joe Biden.
Right, or frankly, any statist Republican. There have been Republicans. We had one right here in Tennessee named Don Sundquist, who tried to dramatically increase the state spending in Tennessee and tried to push an income tax in order to do that and failed. And consequently, Tennessee continues to be a very well-managed state government because it has, in part because it has constraints.
Sorry about that.
And so inflation. So let's move forward to Trump. If Trump dramatically cuts government spending, even if he cuts taxes more than government spending, and even if deficits in the short term go up because tax cuts are greater than spending cuts, as long as he cuts spending, inflation will remain very much under control. And that's what I'm looking for, is a dramatic cut in the regulatory state.
That little clip that just jumped into the show.
Just appeared. It sounded from nowhere.
Yeah, out of the blue.
Yes.
This is one of the irritating things about some of the places on the internet. They immediately, When you go to the page, you immediately get the sound.
Yes.
But the point that, back to your point,
yes,
of I see this happening. That was there's a story about Senator Mike Rounds from South Dakota. He is basically just introduced a bill to eliminate the Department of Education.
Okay.
I think that's the direction we need to be going.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And
by the way, did you see? Linda McMahon is going to be the head of the Department of Education.
Yes.
There's a clip. We played it. It's just funny. I'll just mention. We don't have time to play it, but Glenn Jacobs was a big WWE wrestler.
Right.
Kane.
Yeah.
He's now the mayor of Knox County, rumored to be considering running for governor of Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
20 years ago, when he was Kane, in character as Kane, he performed a wrestling maneuver on Linda McMahon, which was called the Tombstone Pile Driver. And it's hilarious.
All properly rehearsed.
All properly rehearsed.
But still probably a certain level of danger.
A little bit of danger.
Doing it. Yeah.
Anyways, so I say now, having learned from that, Linda McMahon, with the help of Senator Mike Rounds, is going to perform a tombstone pile driver on the Department of Education.
Yeah. And I think these are all good, but I'm going back to what I started the show with. We need to address government employee union dues.
I think
they are. We will have short-term gains.
In the 4 years that you've been here, that has been a consistent theme.
And I will continue to say it until I have no need to.
We'll be back with News Potpourri when we get back.
Carmichael, CEO of Soul Tea, a supplement to help you have a healthier heart and stronger cardiovascular system. At Soul Tea, we regularly get emails from our customers telling us how Soul Tea has helped them. Like this one from Kelly. Hello, I'm 58 years old and have had high cholesterol for years. I wanted to stay away from prescription drugs. My husband and I have been using Soul Tea for about 13 months. My results have been amazing. My cholesterol levels went from 291 to 129. I am so impressed with Soul Tea and want to thank you. Now, in my own case, my bad cholesterol dropped from 130 to 89, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 75 years old and I take 0 prescription drugs. To get a great deal on Soul Tea, please go to GodzillaHeart.com, and when you check out, use the code Godzilla to get our best deal, which is 50% off your first shipment and then 3 bottles for the price of 2 thereafter. You don't have to live with a broken heart.
Do you suffer from
Try
declining
Soul Tea
bone and
today.
joint health? Hi, it's Tina with the John Fredericks Media Network. And when I heard about our company's Women's Challenge, I jumped on the opportunity to test this amazing supplement that's already restoring my bone density, soothing my joint pain, and helping me regain lost mobility. I've experienced so many benefits in such a short time with Native Path Collagen Peptides because they support my bones and joints, boost my metabolism, and unleash the most radiant skin and hair since my 20s. In just 2 weeks, my knee stiffness is gone, and I'm already hitting the gym more aggressively. And I get so many compliments on my glowy skin and shiny hair. Native Path Collagen Peptides are so easy to take. They're tasteless, odorless, and mix great with my morning coffee. Read thousands of 5-star reviews at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Level up your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today. And get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's HealthyCell.com. Code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Crom, it's that time of day again. It's time for News Potpourri.
Yes, Michael. It's that time of the program for the little tidbits that merit the attention of our audience, but not an entire segment and have a touch of
irony.
Yes.
I don't know if this is irony, Crom.
Okay.
We're going to go to the sports world.
Okay.
Breaking news in the sports world. You see how, the quarterbacks in the NFL make a lot of money if they're good, right? And there's one particular quarterback with the New York Giants. His name is Daniel Jones. He got the Giants into the playoff a couple years ago, and they were so happy with that he signed a 4-year, $160 million contract in March of 2023.
Well, good for him.
Since then, he has been 3 wins and 16 losses.
Okay, wow.
And he has, in this 4-year contract, he's got an injury guarantee. If he were to get injured this year, they would owe him $23 million next year for sure. And so they benched him. And he looked around and he said, you know what? Just go ahead and release me. So he announced today, the Giants announced that he has been released. He's not going to get picked up this year.
There's a song.
Well, please release me. Let me go.
Really?
We'll get Engelbert.
We should have had that. God, Michael, we missed our chance.
We missed our chance.
Oh, my gosh.
I think our producer, Patrick, is probably going, oh, my gosh, you guys remember that crazy song?
Oh.
I could sing it, but I'll save our audience a problem.
Thank you, and me too.
Anyway, so look, I thought it was a mistake for them to sign him to a 4-year deal for $40 million a year. He's not 40. He's maybe 10, 15 million a year, but in a good system. He had some good years before he signed the contract. He got his money, and his performance combined with the team performance went down.
Okay, now Michael,
we wish him good luck, though.
Yes. Now, Michael, since you're talking about people who've made a lot of money and who don't actually produce for the money, let me mention Rachel Maddow.
Oh yes.
Yes, story here.
Tell me
story
this.
Story here from the BizPac Review. The headline is Rachel Maddow reportedly gets massive pay cut. Rachel Maddow has been making $30 million a year. She's according to this article, taking a pay cut of $5 million. So she's still going to be making $25 million by telling people things that are not true. So it's an interesting thing. She's
about to get Daniel Jones.
Maybe so.
No, seriously.
All right.
Because here's the thing. You know what's happening. Comcast has announced that they're selling MSNBC.
Yeah, but when you sell it, if you have personalities who are on, say, a 4-year contract, does that mean the party that bought it can by law renegotiate the contracts, or do they have to honor the contracts that are in place?
I think here's what's going to happen.
Okay,
there's going to be a deal cut. There's virtually no value in MSNBC anymore.
I agree,
and so they're all of these.
And by the way, do you know why? Because it's the main reason why is not well understood.
You tell me why.
The main reason is that most of MSNBC's revenue comes from money that it collects because it is available on cable networks across the country, whether people watch the shows or not. MSNBC and CNN get lots and lots of money from subscribers who even don't watch the show. And because when you pay for your base cable rate, and what's happening is more and more young people in particular are not buying cable packages.
Why would you?
Well, I'm saying because older people change their behavior slowly.
The reason older people do it is because that's the only way you could do it at that time.
I'm saying they change, and they could be different now.
But now there's so many other options.
And younger people avail themselves of the other options and never get tied into. It's kind of like why landlines continued to exist in the homes of older folks way beyond their youthful life, because it was a force of habit. It's human nature is that change is slow once it's embedded. So at any rate, Rachel Maddow. So I would argue that Daniel Jones on the bench is more valuable than Rachel Maddow is on the air.
I agree. Yeah. By the way, Matt Gaetz has said he will not return to Congress next year.
Okay.
So he could actually, because he resigned from the 118th Congress. Okay. He was elected to the 119th. But he's not going.
That's kind of that's an interesting twist. Okay. All right. Okay. Now so let's continue on here. Joe, the great headline. Joe Rogan updates his bio in hilarious response to Joey Behar trashing him on The View. Joey Behar actually claims that Joe Rogan believes in dragons, and that people watch The View because The View is fact-checked by their parent company, ABC. Now that may be one of the funniest claims ever.
Hey, here's a breaking story from yesterday. Finally, the crooked Democrat in Pennsylvania, Senator Bob Casey, has conceded to Dave McCormick.
Yes.
The recount is over, and the tears that you see dropping all over the state of Philadelphia are those of the attorney, Mark Elias, who now has 100 attorneys working for him and no projects to work on.
Well, that's great. That is great news.
It is.
This is headline. Doge fans spot job of Pelosi's niece. Pelosi's niece, Alexa Pelosi, is the wife of Pelosi's nephew, Lawrence Pelosi, and she works as a senior climate advisor in the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
How much she make for that?
She earns a salary of $181,000, and there are many, many benefits in addition to that. Probably works from home, Michael. 9 in 10 chance.
There you go.
9 in 10 chance.
And what does a climate advisor to the Housing and Urban Development Department do?
Nothing useful, and so she should be cut. Stephen A. Smith is very angry about the NFL responding to players dancing, during the Trump dance in the end zone as celebrations.
Yeah.
He's not mad that they're doing the dance. He says, look, celebrations are celebrations. They can celebrate however they want to. The NFL doesn't need to call attention by saying that they're not going to do anything about it. They just ought to let it happen, which I thought was great. Now, this is interesting. The Muslim mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, says that if Netanyahu sets foot in his city, he's going to arrest him. On what basis?
He doesn't have any authority.
He doesn't have any authority, but he says he's going to. And
we got 30 seconds.
And Justin Trudeau says that if Netanyahu steps foot in Canada, he's going to arrest him.
I think if Trudeau goes to Israel, they ought to arrest him.
There you go. They'll respond.
And that's our show today, Crum.
I had some more.
I know.
I'll have to just wait
till
the
Monday.
Next time. Yeah.
Hey, up next, Rob Carson. I'll be back actually Monday morning at 9 o'clock. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks for joining us today. This is Michael Patrick Leahy. I want to say a word about my good friend Dustin Damon. Dustin is the best handyman in Middle Tennessee. Call Dustin today at 724-683-4400. That's 724-683-4400 if you have a job around the house that you just haven't gotten around to. If you're busy like me, you just may not have the time to fix that broken mailbox, repair the back porch, or get that old light fixture back to working properly. Do what I did. Call Dustin Damon today at 724-683-4400, and he will bring his truck and tools to your house and get that job done lickety-split. Dustin's main service area is Williamson County and the southern part of Davidson County. So call Dustin Damon, the best handyman in Middle Tennessee today, at 724-683-4400. Tell him you heard about him on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. The Chief Team reminds listeners here that more and more veterans will be returning home over the next few years, and many are local. These heroes have elite military training and valuable professional skills, but they also need jobs too. That's why the Chief Team is encouraging all local businesses. Let's make it the year we hire smart and hire veterans. That's from the Chief Team, where they say service isn't just a courtesy, it's a commitment. For more information, call 931-444-3572. That's 931-444-3572 for the Chief Team in Clarksville.
The Black preaching tradition is deeply connected to gospel music. PBS presents a new series hosted by Henry Louis Gates Jr., Gospel. Our singers preach and our preachers sing.
Gospel is a prayer. It is our heart's cry to God in lyrics and song.
You feel it deep down in your soul.
Gospel. Streaming now on the PBS app.